Well, good morning. Hope you're having a great start to your day. And as usual, we're going to say our wait to say hello to a few folks here as we come on this morning. And Sandra, you came up first. Good morning. Aurelia, right? Rosa, good morning. And Pat, how are you? John from Elgin, Illinois. Rosalinda, Niagara Falls. Carrie, Nebraska. Barbara, Baran. How are you, Barbara? Kevin, Oshawa, Rainy. Yeah, Rainy here today too. Barbara, two Barbaras. And Carol, Wendy, Markup, good morning. Patricia, Nick from our staff. Now you guys might wonder if I make them do this. No, I don't. Donna, good morning. Mary and Margaret and Micheline, good morning. Grace, how are you? Fabulous Fenwick, Carol and Maria, Oshawa, Barbara, Cape Breton, Denise, Deb from Timmins, Lois, how is you? Natalie, Oshawa, Dora, and Tina, and Alma, Sturgeon Falls, Karen, good morning. Helen, Alliston, Yvonne, and Karen, another Karen. Nice to have you on. Sherry, Sherry, I want to sing. And Lyle, like he said, the roll call. Yeah, Lorraine. Kim, how are you? Florida. You're still there, Kim, eh? Jordan, good morning. How are you? Luella, Brenda, Campbell River, British Columbia. Diane, bonjour. And Anne Listowel. Kay, Kathleen. You guys are great. Okay, a couple more. John and Linda, I think. And Kyle, Brenda, and Deanna, and Dell, Jeanette from our staff. Good morning. There's Jeanette and Jeanette. Bonjour. And Debbie, and two Debbies. And Lute. Luta? Is it Lute? How do I say that? Melody. Milika. And Chantal from Ottawa. Sue. Manitoulin Island. No sun. Yeah. Patrice. And Marlene. And Dorothy. You guys are great. Thanks for coming on. Okay. Here's the headline of this study. And another Donna from Kincardine. Listen to the headline of this, okay? It was a study that was done in Sweden, okay? But here's how they wrote it up. 40 cents of vitamin D saved the cost of hospitalization by 21 days. Okay, now do you see steam coming out my ears? Ooh. I've told you this before and I'll tell you again. If vitamin D was a pharmaceutical, it would have won a Nobel Prize in medicine a long time ago. And if you would just give it a chance, research it. Look what they did in Sweden. Okay? I don't know what hospital it was or whatever. During the virus, they gave some patients 10,000 international units a day. Just 10. And they gave the other group 2,000 IUs. Here's what happened when they gave 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3. Okay? 21 days less in the hospital. Now, what's really bothered me, and I've said this over and over and over again, through this whole time, and even today, here we are 2 years, and I don't know if people want zero virus. Can I tell you something, guys? Are you looking on the news and seeing what they're doing in China? That is I'm just shocked to some extent of why the media hasn't gone crazy over that. They're trying to get the zero virus. Guys, that's impossible. It's impossible. It'll never happen. And there's never talk, I can't get over it, they never talk about one's immune system. And look, guys, I want you to have a strong immune system. You need a strong immune system. Doesn't matter for any virus, any bacteria, cancer. You need an immune system. And what this study, and again, you probably try and go find it in the mainstream media. Good luck, I think. I mean, I have I have a service. I get every study pretty well sent to me. So I can look at it, and, a lot of them, they're not particularly interesting or whatever, and I sort of dismiss it, and some I like to really unpack. I read it, and I go, oh, yeah, that's interesting. And my job here on this podcast is to let you guys know what's happening out there and things that are missed by, and this, guys, has been missed. And we're not talking about, because I'll tell you something else. There was another study done in Sweden of hospitalized patients with this virus, and they gave them a hammer, 300,000, one shot of 300,000 IUs of vitamin D. And then they were down to, I wrote it down, I think they were down to 5,000 after that. But they gave initial shot of 300,000. Like in a shot. What a hammer. But it was very successful. Very successful. Enormous difference. And here's one. And here's their headline. 40 cents of vitamin D. I guess to take 10,000 international units, vitamin D is inexpensive. Well, look, the best way to get vitamin D is to get out in the sun, right? But in the wintertime or whatever, well, good luck with that. So they're saying here, 40 cents worth of vitamin D saved the cost of 21 days in a hospital. Now, I'm going to tell you something. In Canada, we don't get a bill when we go to the hospital. Okay? We don't get a bill and say, okay, you owe. In the United States, if you have, hopefully you're insured, you might see that bill. The insurance company lets you see what they have to pay for you. I do everything I can to stay out of the hospital. I want you to stay out of the hospital. But come on. You know, you get hit by a truck. You better go to the hospital. What does it cost? It costs a fortune. It costs a fortune. And they're saying that the average Canadian, okay, average taxes we pay are about, for a family of four, about $13,000 a year for our medical coverage. I mean, it's not free. Everybody understands that. But when you don't see the bills sometimes, you just think, oh, well. No, but it, like in Sweden, they were saying like for 40 cents a day, they were able to decrease the hospitalization of people that got the virus by 21 days. Can you imagine intensive care? How much that costs? But it's not going to make the mainstream media because there's no money in it. Now, by the way, if you go out in the sun for 20 minutes, on average, no sunscreen, you're going to get 10,000 international units of vitamin D. And the toxicity for vitamin D, by the way, the Vitamin D Council have done a lot of research over the years and paid for a lot of research over the years on vitamin D. And here's what they say is what you need to do to become toxic from vitamin D. You know, doctors, vitamin D. You're going to become toxic. It's fat soluble. I know that. But here's what has been studied. You would have to take 50,000 IUs a day, 7 days a week, to do what? To become toxic after 6 months. Every day, 50,000 IUs. Okay? Every day. In this study, they just used 10,000 IUs. What you would get 20 minutes of the sun. And by the way, you'll never get an overdose of vitamin D from the sun. Now, you can get burnt from the sun, okay? But you're not going to get an overdose because your body will just take what it needs from the sun. Viderma. Vitamin D on your skin. Right? How good that is for you. Sunshine on my shoulder makes me happy. Doesn't it? The sun! It's so good for you. You know, when you read the history of the Spanish flu, you go back to 1918. 1917, 1918. You read the history of the Spanish flu, and what did you, if you want to read about it, you know what they did? In these makeshift hospitals and whatever. I mean, it killed millions of people. They got them out, whenever the sun would come out, they'd wheel these people with the Spanish flu. And they did it with tuberculosis too. They wheeled them out in the sun. Now, what did they know about vitamin D in 1918 or whatever? Or with tuberculosis? What did they know? Well, the sun has a very therapeutic effect. Yeah. What was it, a week ago or so? I talked to you about Linus Pauling, who won a Nobel Prize because of his work on vitamin C. He only missed by one letter in the alphabet. Vitamin D. But you see, they don't want you talking about vitamin D. Who's they? The powers to be. They don't want it part of the discussion. I can't get over it. Why wouldn't we use the best of both worlds? When President Trump got sick, I don't know if you remember this or not, but remember when he got the virus and he got really sick and very quick. Well, his doctors surrounded him and there was no vaccines or nothing yet. You know what they did? They gave him high doses of vitamin D and zinc and other therapeutics. And then it was sort of dismissed. Anyway. But this study says, and here's what else the study said. Okay, it said, how did vitamin D work? Okay? Well, you guys know already. But the study wanted to find out. So, of course, they were doing laboratory testing and measuring, doing blood work and measuring. Okay, they gave them 10,000 international units when they entered the hospital. Really ill. They gave them 10,000 international units. Not like the other study where they gave them one shot of 300,000, then 5,000 IUs. But this study, they gave 10,000. And then they gave another group that came in 2,000 IUs. 2,000 IUs spent a lot more time and were sicker in the hospital. 2,000 IUs, guys, of vitamin D, that is for mice. Okay? You got a hamster in your house? Get them 2,000 IUs of vitamin D. Okay? No, but vitamin D was always measured by bad math. It started out with bad math. Like, it wasn't 2 + 2 = 4. And if you don't start with that, they messed it up. So, right out of the gate, you got to understand, I've been around a long time, okay? You're looking at a dinosaur, guys, when it comes to nutrition and supplements. Like I learned in the late 60s, 1970s. You know how much vitamin D they were recommending in those days? 200 international units. Now, we were very fortunate to be introduced to people who thought outside the box, okay? Linus Pauling. Now, that was in vitamin C. We learned a lot of things. I remember one of our textbooks was Adele Davis. And she was light years ahead of people in terms of therapeutic dosing of supplements. B12 and vitamin D and vitamin E, the other vitamin E, not exercise, which is the real vitamin E, by the way. Okay? No, but, you know, when they were recommending at that time 200 international units of vitamin D, and then don't go over it because that's all you need, because all they could think of vitamin D, bones. Even then, that wasn't enough for bones, but medicine, when it comes to vitamins, okay, because, look, again, just understand where I'm coming from. When you haven't studied that, really, when you've taken a few hours of nutrition in medical school, you're lucky to get a few hours. But if you did, they're not talking about the therapeutic value of vitamin D, the therapeutic value. They might a little bit more about vitamin A because they know that without vitamin A, you go to the third world, there's blindness. So they know they need therapeutic values of vitamin A in certain countries, especially with malnutrition, right? I mean, you learn that, okay, but that's it. They don't learn therapeutic values of vitamins. I talk to you all the time about B12, for example. You need high B12. Well, my B12's normal. Normal's no good. That's not going to help you. That's low. And they're always, look, I get it. They're always worried about overdosing. The hospitals are full. You know how many, I had a radio show for 20 years. I had doctors that wanted to shoot me because the show was so popular. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Don't listen to Dr. Martin. He's a quack. You know how many times I heard that? Right? Look, I'm not against medicine. Like I said, you got a raging infection? Don't call me. You know, I don't want you to get an infection in the first place. Do everything you can to stop it. But if you get one, you need emergency medicine. That's why I have such a deep respect for my son-in-law. He's an emergency physician, the best in the world. You need an emergency, you want to see him, not me. Right? I'm not against medicine. You need an antibiotic to save your life? You need an antibiotic to save your life. Let it save your life. You need surgery to keep you alive? You need a blood transfusion to keep you alive? Hey, 100%. But what's lost in all of that, under the guise of science, because you have medicine that, by and large, is bought and paid for by the pharmaceutical companies. Listen, folks, you can't get a patent on vitamin D. You can't. You can't patent it. If you can't patent it, the pharmaceutical companies are not okay, there's two things. Not only will they not push it, meaning, you know what? Get some vitamin D, 40 cents worth a day, would save the hospitals. Now, the hospitals are always looking for money. They're always short on money. In Canada, it's unreal. We never have enough beds. Now, that's a whole other story. I can help them solve that. That's where I would come in. We'd come in. Let's get people healthy. You know, the hospital should be for infections and surgeries that are life-saving. You get hit by a truck, you need a hospital. But most hospitals are filled with people that started with metabolic syndrome, which is insulin. It's food. And now they have diabetes. And then they get a heart attack. Or then they lose their limbs. Or they have metabolic syndrome causing severe inflammation, then they get a heart attack, or then they get cancer. And that's what costs a fortune. When your treatment is based on wait till you get sick and now we're going to treat you with chemotherapy or radiation or surgery or whatever, cost a fortune. What I'm saying is let's try as much as we can. Let's try and avoid that. Right? There's no guarantees in life. We know that. But you put everything on your side. What you can control. What you can do. And vitamin D, guys, everybody and their dog ought to be taking vitamin D. Everybody and their dog. Take vitamin D. Why? The therapeutics value of it is incredible. Now, you guys thought I forgot to mention this, but I went down a rabbit trail, but I just came back. Because what they did in this study, when they did the blood work, okay, what did 10,000 international units a day do? What did it do? Almost immediately, it lowered the cytokine storm. What's that? Well, what happens with a virus is the body overreacts to it, especially in the lungs. There's a virus and the ambulance, your body's ambulance system would go crazy. And it would create all this cytokine, what they call a cytokine storm. And you know what they found out with vitamin D? Incredible. It lowered the storm, almost eliminating the storm, the cytokine storm. It's almost like autoimmune storm that occurred especially in the lungs. And they found out, they thought, well, lungs. What did they do at first? Remember? Do you remember? The ventilators. Then they found out, nah, that was probably one of the worst things they could do. Because they didn't figure out that it was a cytokine storm. And one of the things they really found to work, like in Sweden, I don't think it was ever done in Canada or, nobody, vitamin D, what are you, crazy or something? Well, they did it in Sweden and they found out, you know what? It lowered the cytokine storm. And secondly, you know what they found out? It elevated your immune response compared to 2,000 IUs and compared to almost anything else. They found out that the immune system, every T cell in your body, well, every cell in your body has a receptor. Have I not told you that? Have I told you lately about vitamin D? Every cell in your body has a receptor, but especially T cells. T cells are your immune cells especially. And they got a little antenna and they go click, 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 click. Get me vitamin D because I need to it's like you own a Prius. It's a battery operated car, right? Well, it don't work if your battery's not charged. Vitamin D charges the batteries of the T cells so they can go and fight the virus. That's what they found out. You unpack the study and they go into some big terminology. They only want doctors to read it, I guess. But guys, that's how it worked. Very anti-inflammatory, the cytokine storm, and it supercharged your immune system. Is vitamin D just for bones? Nope. It's not. So you see what I'm saying, guys? It's unreal. And I'm not optimistic. I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm aiming at you. I aim at my audience to educate you so that you do it. You implement what you need to do to keep your immune system. And you know me, I always start with food, always. Okay? Because the people that got sick, primarily, were either really, really old or they had metabolic syndrome. The elephant in the room. And metabolic syndrome, 88% of the population has some form of it, is insulin. And insulin, my friend, is food. When you have insulin resistance, you've made the wrong choices. When I say you, us, we've made the wrong choices, and we've been eating the wrong fuel for a long time. We're carb loaded. Carb loaded. We've been duped. We've been lied to. And then when it comes to therapeutics, we've been lied to because the pharmaceutical companies, and they do some good things, okay? So I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. They do some good things. But for heaven's sakes, they're never going to allow vitamin D to be a therapeutic, in my opinion. They won't allow it. And they're powerful. They have doctors, and they've got marketing people, and they got politicians. Have you heard a politician talk about vitamin D? They would be laughed to scorn by the mainstream media. Have you heard about doctors talking about vitamin D? Yeah, you've heard the odd one. We live in a world today where you get some alternative media, right? Like even what I'm doing right now. Right? If I was on the radio, it would be different on the radio. Very, very, the CRTC controls the radio. And I'm telling you, they would have silenced me when it came to therapeutics, in my opinion. The world got silent when it came to therapeutics. Inexpensive. Certainly worth trying, isn't it? I know physicians have told me we couldn't even talk about it, otherwise we'd lose our license to practice medicine. It didn't matter what studies I'd send them. It's the way the world is. Doesn't make it right. And like I said, I don't want to put rose-colored glasses on. I'm not that optimistic. So what do? I aim at you. I want to educate you. I thank God for the audience I have. Why do you think I tell you I love you every day? Okay? God gave you gray matter. Use it. Search. Be a Berean. You know what a Berean was? Bereans searched the scriptures to make sure what the Apostle Paul was telling them was the truth, right? Be a Berean. You guys study, listen, learn, okay? And that's my job, to bring it to you. And I thank God we're hitting about 50,000 people a week. Our podcast alone, never mind, we'd be up to, between Facebook and the podcast, would be probably in the 4 millions download, and we'll hit 1 million just on the podcast itself, probably this summer. Never mind what Facebook does. That's you guys. Much appreciated. Much appreciated that you take time out of your busy day to listen to an old goat. Okay, guys. Now, guess what tomorrow is? Question and Answer Friday. Send in your questions. It's always fun. I enjoy it. I know you guys do. I appreciate that. Okay? And are you a member of the Facebook group? We love that group. Join. Get your friends to join. Get your family to join. If you're doing the reset, you got to join the group, because they are the best cheerleaders in the world. Okay? Are right in that group. They'll keep you going. The metabolic reset. Okay? So, and you can, and let people know about the podcast, the Doctors in Podcast. Okay? Just let people know. Let them listen to it. Let them decide. Okay. Guys, we love you. And I mean it. Talk to you soon.